Hi everyone. The topic I have for you this evening is about a quick frame of the concept of non-Article 5 operations. In the previous video we talked about the concept instead of Article 5 operations in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and Washington Treaty and the cases law in which under the alliance the use of armed force is legal and organized in the structure of integrated military alliance. We saw as under international general and conventional law and particularly Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, not all the uses of force allowed by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization founding treaty and strategic concepts are legal. In this path, it's important to give a description of quote non-Article 5 operations. Non-Article 5 operations are not described in the founding treaty, in the Washington Treaty, on the legal basis of the simple fact that the founding treaty of the alliance historically didn't provide cases law of intervention of allied states outside the case of an armed attack against the territory, the borders or the political independence by allied countries. Historically, we saw that the use of the strategic concepts as a mean for the alliance to wider powers and competencies and to build a structure of military integration in a position to deal with international crisis in a kind of international quote police manner was the cause of international destabilization in the geopolitical frame. It's fundamental to give a legal frame of the concept of non-Article 5 operations. We just said that it's impossible to find within the Washington Treaty regulation a rule about the use of force outside the case of Article 5. And we saw that allied countries and mainly the leading country, the United States, use the legal mean to introduce these competencies and powers through the documents by the Atlantic Council. What non-Article 5 operations actually are? Well, they are defined in the strategic concepts of mainly the last one of 2010, but in the one of 1999 too, and they are described as cases in which the use of armed force by allied countries is consented outside the case of an armed attack. So for international crisis and for threats to international peace and security. So the reference is clearly to Article 39 of the United Nations Charter. But by a legal point of view, it's not allowed to use Article 39 of the United Nations Charter, an external rule, a rule in another system, in another order, to find legal basis to an intervention and the use of force. So a first example, historical example of the use of the strategic concepts and of the alliance outside the frame of Article 5 is the case of the Bosnia-Herzegovina invasion by Serbia-Montenegro Republic, and the intervention under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter by the allied countries. That is a case of non-Article 5 operations. In fact, that was not a situation of attack against a member state, an allied state, but on the legal basis of the just dropped strategic concepts, allied countries decided to intervene and use in an operation of quote peace enforcement, so with the use and enforcement of peace through the means of armed force. And this is not a case, as we saw, of armed attack against an allied country. But the authorization by the Security Council resolution allowing the alliance, the intervention, was legal foundation of that intervention, and the legality of the intervention under international law in the frame of multilateralism, even though not in the frame of strictly of the United Nations Charter. In fact, despite the just dropped new strategic concept under United Nations Charter provision and conventional and both general international law, so customary international law, the concept of regional organizations, as in Chapter 7 of the and Article 43 of the Chapter 8, of the United Nations Charter, and Article 43 of the United Nations Charter doesn't allow to a defense alliance to be considered under international law as a regional organization, and under customary law as well. The frame has to be quick, so I would like to present the second case of non-Article 5 operation used historically, and this is the Kosovo intervention. In that case, the international multilateralism was broken, and there was coverage by Security Council resolutions by Security Council resolution and all. So this is a paramount of a case in which the use of force in under a non-Article 5 operation and in the frame of the alliance is usually non-legal, non-compliant with international, general and conventional multilateralism provisions, regulations under international law. And other cases law are for instance, the use of the alliance in Afghanistan in